Ex-wife surprised and served divorce papers. Hello, true story, James. I typed cheating wife stories into YouTube one night when I couldn't sleep, and one of your videos popped up. I let it play in the background, and before I knew it, I had binged hours of your uploads. Listening to other men's stories gave me both a sense of relief and pain at the same time. Relief because I realized I wasn't alone, and pain because I couldn't believe how many of us had been through the same hell. I wanted to share my story with you. It's long, messy, and at times it still feels unreal. But maybe someone out there will listen to this and feel a little less crazy than I did in the middle of it all. Rhea, when I was 28. At that time, I had been working for a mid-sized financial company, doing fairly well for myself, but still figuring out life. She worked in marketing for a health products company. We were introduced at a birthday party, and I'll be honest, she was the kind of woman who turned heads. Beautiful smile, confident laugh, and the kind of presence where, when she walked into a room, you noticed. From the very start, she made me feel like I had to earn her. She wasn't overly easy to read. She was flirtatious, but not obvious. She had this way of making me chase her while still making me feel like she was into me, and I liked that challenge. We went out a few times, and before long, things got serious. Looking back now, I see a lot of red flags I ignored. Rhea always had guy friends. She would talk about them like they were brothers, and she swore that nothing was ever going on. At the time, I trusted her because I wanted to. I thought trust meant turning a blind eye to things that made me uncomfortable. Marriage and early life together. We got married 3 years into dating. Our wedding was beautiful, small but intimate, and I was completely in love. At that time, I thought I had found my forever. Everyone always talks about marriage vows, about being faithful in sickness and health, richer or poorer. I believed in that wholeheartedly. The first couple of years of marriage were good, at least on the surface. We bought a townhouse, we traveled a little, and we had all the appearances of a happy couple. But something shifted after year 3. Rhea became distant. She was always tired, always working late, and more often than not, she was glued to her phone. At first, I brushed it off as stress. I thought maybe she just needs space. But slowly, my gut started screaming at me. And let me tell you, when your gut talks to you in a marriage, you better listen. The gut feeling. There were little signs. She started guarding her phone like it was Fort Knox. She would take it to the bathroom, sleep with it face down on the nightstand, and sometimes even keep it in her purse while she showered. I asked her about it once, casually, and she laughed it off. She said, "James, you're being paranoid. I work in marketing. I'm always on social media." That should have reassured me, but it didn't. In fact, it made me feel crazier. Why was I doubting my own wife? Then came the work stories. She started mentioning this coworker of hers, just casually at first. I'll call him Darren for the sake of this story. She said Darren was funny, that he helped lighten the mood in the office. One day, she even invited me to meet some of her coworkers at a happy hour, and wouldn't you know it, Darren was there. He seemed harmless enough, tall, kind of goofy, with this fake friendly demeanor. I shook his hand, talked with him briefly, and thought nothing more of it. But there was something about the way he and Rhea interacted, like inside jokes that I wasn't part of, that stuck with me. Snooping and the laptop discovery. I fought the urge to snoop for months. I told myself over and over, don't be that guy. Don't invade her privacy. But the more I ignored it, the louder my gut screamed. Then one night, Rhea went to bed early. Her laptop was sitting on the coffee table, wide open. I told myself I wasn't going to look. I swear, I sat there for a good 20 minutes debating it. But curiosity and suspicion got the better of me. I clicked open her email. Nothing too crazy at first. Work messages, random newsletters, Then I checked her social media logins. She had forgotten to log out of Facebook Messenger. That's when my world collapsed. Right there in black and white were hundreds of messages between her and Darren. Flirty, intimate, and explicit. They reminisced about the old days before she met me, which was how I found out she had dated him years ago. She had never once told me this. She was telling him things like, "I think about you when I'm at home," and "You've always been the one I compare everyone else to." And Darren was feeding it right back, saying he regretted not fighting harder for her. My heart sank. It wasn't just a fling, it was an emotional and physical betrayal. The confrontation. The next morning, I confronted her. I didn't scream. I didn't lose my cool. I just told her straight up, "Rhea, I know about you and Darren." Her reaction? She laughed. She actually laughed. She said, "James, you're losing it. Darren and I are just friends." I showed her the messages. She didn't even flinch. She said, "You must have misunderstood. That's just banter." And this is where the gaslighting started. For the next week, she twisted everything I said. She told me I was insecure, paranoid, and making things up. She cried crocodile tears and said, "I can't believe you'd think I would ever cheat on you." It almost worked. I started questioning my own sanity. I thought maybe I am reading too much into this. That's how dangerous gaslighting is. It makes you lose trust in your own reality. Reaching out to Darren's wife. But then I had an idea. If I was crazy, then maybe someone else could confirm it. I searched Darren's name on Instagram and found his wife's profile. She had pictures of him, of their kids, family vacations, the whole 9 yards. I debated for hours before finally sending her a message. I told her who I was, that I was Rhea's husband, and that I thought something was going on between them. She responded almost immediately. She said, "James, I've been suspecting the same thing." We compared notes, screenshots, and timelines. Everything lined up. That night, she confronted Darren. From what she told me later, he admitted everything. She filed for divorce not long after, but before she did, she called me crying, saying she didn't know if she could handle it. She even said Darren had threatened to hurt himself if she left. Hearing that shook me. Here I was trying to process my own wife's betrayal, and now I was worried about someone else's husband possibly doing something drastic. Getting a lawyer. After that, I knew I couldn't stay. I contacted a lawyer the next morning. I laid it all out. How I discovered the affair, the evidence I had, and my main concern. I had invested heavily in Bitcoin over the past few years, and Rhea didn't know about all of it. I wanted to protect it. My lawyer was blunt. He said, "James, if she finds out about those assets, she will fight for them. We need to be careful." So I followed every instruction. I gathered documents, handed over screenshots, and prepared myself for war. Rhea's reaction to divorce papers. When Rhea was served with divorce papers, she lost it. She screamed at me saying I was going against our vows and that God would punish me. She said Darren meant nothing, that she had made a mistake, and that I was throwing away everything we had built. But I had no issue walking away. For the first time in months, I felt clarity. I didn't care about her apologies or excuses. She tried crawling back multiple times. She sent long emails about how she would do anything to fix our marriage. She even tried seducing me one night when I went to pick up some paperwork, but my resolve was unshakable. The grueling divorce process. The divorce process itself was brutal. Rhea fought me on everything. She wanted the house, the car, half of my retirement, and spousal support. She even tried to argue that because we were married, she had some right to my Bitcoin. At one point, during a court appearance, she broke down so badly that the judge actually paused the proceedings and asked if she needed medical attention. That's how far gone she was. She was completely unraveling in front of everyone. It dragged on for months. Each step was draining, emotionally and financially. But eventually, the divorce was finalized, and I walked away with what I needed to keep. Looking back, I realized how close I came to losing myself. The gaslighting almost worked. The stress almost broke me. But in the end, I survived. Rhea, she's a shell of who she used to be. Last I heard, things with Darren fell apart not long after both divorces went through. When the divorce was finalized, I expected to feel relief, and in some ways, I did. I remember walking out of the courthouse that day with my lawyer, and there was this strange lightness in my chest. Like for the first time in over a year, I could breathe. But that feeling didn't last long. Divorce isn't like ripping off a Band-Aid, it lingers. I went home to an empty townhouse that still smelled like her perfume. I saw her hairbrush on the bathroom counter, a sweater she forgot hanging in the closet, and suddenly the lightness turned into heaviness. The silence in that house was deafening. I kept the TV on just for background noise because otherwise I could hear my thoughts too clearly. And those thoughts were brutal. How did I miss the signs? Was I that blind? Did I waste all those years? I threw myself into work, into hitting the gym, into doing anything but sitting at home, wallowing. But even as I tried to move forward, Rhea wasn't done with me. Not by a long shot. The first accidental encounter. It started about 3 weeks after the divorce was finalized. I was grocery shopping at a store I rarely went to. As I walked down the cereal aisle, I heard someone call my name. James! I turned, and there she was, Rhea, dressed in yoga pants and a hoodie, looking like she had accidentally run into me. But I didn't buy it for a second. She knew this wasn't my usual store. "Oh, wow, I didn't know you shopped here," she said, giving me that smile she used to flash when she wanted to get her way. I just nodded. Yeah, needed a few things. She started small talk, asked how I'd been, said I looked good. Tried to act like we were old friends catching up. I kept it short, polite but cold. Then she said it. "You know, we don't have to be enemies, James. We shared a lot of years together. I still care about you." That was my cue. I pushed my cart past her and said, "Take care, Rhea." When I got back to my car, I saw her in the parking lot, sitting in hers, staring at me as I loaded groceries. Creepy doesn't even cover it. The late night texts. A week later, the text started. First, it was something harmless. "Hey, hope you're doing okay." I ignored it. Then, "I just wanted to let you know I miss you." Ignored again. Then it escalated. "James, I made a mistake. Darren isn't who I thought he was. He lied to me. I should never have left you." I'll admit, seeing that made me angry and, for a brief second, tempted. Not because I wanted her back, but because it validated everything I had felt. It was proof that she ruined her own life. But I didn't respond. Not one word. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. Her attempt at guilt tripping. When silence didn't work, Rhea shifted tactics. She sent me a long email, pages of emotional vomit. She wrote things like, "You're going against God's will by divorcing me. Marriage is sacred. I know I hurt you, but you made vows, and vows aren't meant to be broken. If you don't forgive me, you're going to regret it when you're old and alone." It was textbook guilt tripping. She tried to twist morality and religion to her advantage, even though she was the one who destroyed the marriage. I forwarded the email to my lawyer, just in case. His reply was simple: "Do not engage," so I didn't. The desperate visit. The boldest stunt she pulled happened about 2 months later. I had just gotten home from work when I heard a knock at my door. I opened it, and there she was, Rhea, standing there with tears in her eyes, holding a box of my old belongings. "I found some of your stuff," she said softly. "I thought you might want it back." I looked in the box. It wasn't my stuff. It was junk she had thrown together to have an excuse to show up. A random mug, an old t-shirt, a photo frame that didn't even belong to me. Rhea, you need to leave, I said firmly. She stepped closer. James, please, can we just talk? I miss you. I don't know what I was thinking with Darren. He used me. He never loved me. But you were my best friend. Her voice cracked, and for a moment I saw the woman I once loved. But then I remembered all the nights I lay awake wondering where she was, all the gaslighting, all the lies. Rhea, we're done, I said. Go home. She tried to step inside. I blocked the doorway. She started crying harder, begging, saying she couldn't live without me. Finally, I pulled out my phone and said, if you don't leave, I'm calling the police. That snapped her out of it. She grabbed the box, stormed off, and peeled out of my driveway. Her breakdown. After that, things got quiet for a while. I thought maybe she had finally accepted reality. But then mutual friends started telling me she was spiraling. She showed up at one of our friends' houses drunk, crying about how she ruined her marriage. She posted cryptic quotes on social media about losing everything. At one point, a mutual friend called me and said, James, I think Rhea needs help. She's not doing well. I felt bad, but at the same time, it wasn't my responsibility anymore. She made her bed. My healing process. While Rhea spiraled, I started healing, slowly but surely. I went back to therapy, something I hadn't done since my early 20s. I started journaling, writing down everything I felt instead of bottling it up. I hit the gym harder than ever. I even dipped my toes back into dating, though cautiously. I wasn't ready for anything serious, but just grabbing coffee with someone new reminded me that there was life after Rhea. I also focused on my Bitcoin investments, which thankfully I had protected. Watching those numbers climb gave me a sense of control I desperately needed. The last time Rhea tried to reach out was almost a year after the divorce. Out of nowhere, I got a handwritten letter in the mail. It was 10 pages long. She poured her heart out, claiming she was in therapy, that she had found God again, that she realized I was the one. She begged for a second chance. I read it once, shook my head, and burned it in my backyard fire pit. That was my closure. Here's the thing I've learned through all of this. Cheaters don't regret the cheating. They regret the consequences. Rhea didn't want me back because she loved me. She wanted me back because life without me was harder than she thought it would be. But I wasn't her safety net anymore. I don't hate her. In fact, a part of me hopes she finds peace because carrying that much chaos around will destroy a person. But I will never, ever let her back into my life. If any man listening to this is in a situation where his gut is screaming, listen to it. Don't let anyone gaslight you into doubting your reality. And when the day comes that she crawls back, and trust me, it almost always happens, remember why you left in the first place. Because peace, self-respect, and freedom are worth more than any apology from someone who broke your trust. After burning her handwritten letter, the last desperate attempt she made to get me back, I thought I was in the clear. Life was starting to feel normal again. I was working hard, hitting the gym, investing in crypto, and even meeting new people. I wasn't rushing into a relationship, but just having conversations with women who weren't manipulative liars felt like a breath of fresh air. Rhea, on the other hand, had gone quiet. I didn't hear from her for months. No texts, no surprise visits, no random encounters. I assumed she had finally moved on, maybe even found someone new to manipulate. But that silence was deceptive. What I didn't realize was that while she wasn't reaching out to me, she was busy crafting a whole new narrative about our marriage and divorce. The first rumors. The first sign came from a mutual friend, Mark. He called me one night and said, "Hey man, I don't know if you're aware, but Rhea's been saying some things about you." I asked, "Like what?" Mark hesitated. "She's been telling people you were emotionally abusive." that you controlled her, that you wouldn't let her have friends, stuff like that. I laughed out loud, not because it was funny, but because it was so far from reality. If anything, I was too trusting, too accommodating. She was the one who had endless guy friends. She was the one who betrayed our vows, but I could tell from Mark's tone that he believed me. He said, "I know it's BS, James. I just wanted to give you a heads up." That was just the beginning. The social media smear. Soon after, I noticed people on Facebook unfriending me. People who had been close with both of us during the marriage. At first, I didn't think much of it. Friend lists change all the time. But then another buddy, Alex, messaged me. "Bro, Ria's posting about you. Not using your name, but it's obvious who she's talking about." He sent me screenshots. There they were. Long, self-righteous posts about how some men pretend to be loyal but secretly have addictions, or some husbands gaslight their wives and then paint themselves as victims. I was stunned. She was flipping the entire story on its head. She was the one who cheated. She was the one who gaslit me. And now she was projecting all of it onto me. That's when it hit me. She wasn't just mad that I divorced her. She was mad that I refused to take her back. So now she was trying to destroy my reputation. The lies she told. Over the next few months, I learned the full extent of her lies. Through mutual friends, coworkers, and even random acquaintances, I pieced together the web of nonsense she was spinning. That I was controlling. She claimed I wouldn't let her hang out with friends or have guy friends. Absolute lie. I never stopped her from doing anything. If I had, she wouldn't have been sneaking around with Darren. That I had a gambling problem. This one blew my mind. She twisted my interest in cryptocurrency into some kind of gambling addiction, saying I was throwing our money away on fake coins. Never mind the fact that my investments were what gave me financial security during the divorce, that I cheated on her first. The irony here is laughable. She claimed that her mistake with Darren only happened because she felt unloved after I supposedly cheated on her. Complete fabrication. That I was abusive. She painted me as emotionally abusive, saying I made her feel small and worthless. This was the hardest one to stomach because real abuse victims exist, and she was using their pain as a weapon. That I left her with nothing. She told people I took all the money and left her destitute. In reality, she got a fair settlement. If anything, she fought for more than she deserved. Hearing these lies made my blood boil, but more than anger, I felt disbelief. After everything she had done, after all the evidence of her betrayal, she still managed to spin herself into the victim. The fallout. At first, I tried to ignore it. I thought, the truth will come out. People know who I am. But the more I ignored it, the worse it got. Some friends distanced themselves from me. They didn't want to get involved. Others believed her lies outright. A couple even sent me nasty messages saying things like, "I can't believe you treat Rhea like that. She deserves better." That was the hardest part. Losing friends I thought were solid. People I had laughed with, hung out with, shared memories with. Suddenly they were looking at me like I was the villain. It also started affecting my work. One day, my manager pulled me aside and said, "James, I don't want to pry into your personal life, but someone's been calling the office, making allegations about you." Guess who? Yep, Rhea. She had actually called my workplace saying I was unstable, that I had anger issues, and that I shouldn't be trusted with responsibilities. Thankfully, my manager knew me well enough not to take it seriously, but it still shook me to my core. How I fought back. I realized then that ignoring it wasn't enough. I had to take action. First, I documented everything. Screenshots of her posts, texts from friends relaying what she said, even the call log at work. My lawyer told me, if this escalates, we'll be ready. Second, I started setting the record straight. Not by stooping to her level and blasting her online, but by calmly talking to the people who mattered. I reached out to close friends, explained the situation, and showed them proof. Most of them believed me, and some even apologized for doubting me. Third, I went no contact more seriously than ever before. Blocked her on everything. Told mutual friends that if they wanted to stay in my life, they couldn't bring me updates about her. I had to protect my peace. The emotional toll. Even with those steps, the lies took a toll. There were nights I sat alone wondering if people would ever see the real story, wondering if every woman I met in the future would hear Ria's version before they heard mine. It felt like a second betrayal. The first betrayal was her affair. The second was her trying to erase my truth with her lies. Therapy helped. My therapist told me something I'll never forget. James, her lies say more about her than they do about you. Healthy people don't try to destroy their exes. They move on. That became my mantra. Anytime I heard about another rumor, I repeated it. Her lies say more about her than they do about me. The turning point. Eventually, the smear campaign backfired. People started noticing the pattern. Ria wasn't just bad-mouthing me. She was bad-mouthing almost everyone in her life. Former friends, co-workers, even her own family. One day, Mark, the same friend who warned me at the beginning, called and said, "Man, everyone's catching on. Ria's burning every bridge she has. People see her for what she is." And he was right. Slowly but surely, her credibility collapsed. The more she lied, the more people stopped listening. I didn't have to defend myself anymore. Her behavior did it for me. Life now. Today, I'm in a much better place. I've rebuilt my circle of friends with people I can trust. I've put more energy into my career and investments. And yes, I'm dating again, cautiously, but with more self-awareness than ever before. Ria is still out there, still bitter, still clinging to her false narratives. But she doesn't have the power to hurt me anymore. Because here's what I learned. When you refuse to take a toxic person back, you take away their control. And when they lose control, they'll try to destroy you. But if you stand firm, if you live your life with integrity, eventually the truth speaks louder than their lies. To any man listening to this who's dealing with the smear campaign, stay calm. Don't fight fire with fire. Document everything. Protect yourself legally and let time do the rest. The truth has a way of surfacing. Ria may have tried to rewrite our history, but I know what really happened. And now, thanks to platforms like this, other people will know too. Thanks again, True Story, for giving men like me a voice. Writing these emails has been part of my healing process. James.